Hey everybody, welcome to the Apex Legends XIM Assist video. This is the configuration video for the settings and aim guide. I will also be showing some in-game movement related things. We're going to dive in and dive straight into the settings. If you haven't done the customization part yet, please make sure to go and do so. Watch the video from beginning to the end, and if you have any questions there, just leave it down in the comments. The same goes for this video. If you need any additional help, feel free to join my Discord server or book a one-on-one call with me inside my server. I hope you're excited as I am, and let's dive in. One more thing that I would like to state is I've gotten a serious flu right now, so I'm recording these videos to get the config out, but if I have any weird noises or whatsoever, it might be because of how I'm feeling or what's going on. With that out of the way, let's dive in. First of all, we're going to go to the settings. If you're in game and you're already set up, it might be really good that you learn how to open these things. So you hold down the escape key and it will allow you to open up the settings and move as normal. I'm currently on the console, so all of this stuff is shown on the console. If you are on the PC and you're using the mouse keyboard controller settings because you're using CV, I really would recommend you guys to just turn on your navigate mode and follow along. One more last thing, you might be wondering what is CV about. CV handles my automatic recalls. You will see that in this video when we dive in and start beaming inside the fighting range. If you guys are curious about that, there is a link in the description of this video as well as inside of the cloud topic. This is not made by me. I'm also not making any money. I'm just using it and really recommend people to do so as you don't have to worry about pressing certain keys for certain weapons. Well, now we're going to go into the settings and we're directly at the controller tab. On the video tab, you might want to set your FOV. I prefer playing with 110, and the default recommendations with Sim will be 90. But change this as you prefer. Over in the controller section, we're going to set the stick layout to southpaw. And if you have been using a Sim configuration before, you most likely are already on southpaw, but in the bottom layout, you're probably using a customized layout that you see over here. R2 to jump, and square to aim, and X to attack. This is something we don't want. This config uses the default settings. So if so, make sure to click over here at default and go back. Right now, you might be trying to press your crouch key on the console by pressing your crouch key. Press the key right above the tab key, right below the escape key, and left of the 1 key to go back and still have the cursor mode active. Now we're going to continue over. Crouch button, hold, aim button, hold, survival button on, adaptive triggers on, L2, R2 dead zones turn to none, menu cursor speed all the way to the right, your look sensitivity 6:2. I always tell people that are using my configurations to go with something that you like. You might prefer 7.2, 7.5, 7.7. Go with what feels best for you. Then use classic, and one really important thing with this config is that your movement dead zone is set to large. I will explain later why that is. Vibration can be set to advanced, and inverted look, you turn that off. In the advanced look controls, we're going to turn these on. None of these settings matter right over here, so you can keep those as is or as they are in your configuration. Go to the per optics, turn them on. If they're turned off, then click on and set S as right over here. 6.6, 8.0, 9.6, and the rest all at 10. Once you have done so, you go back and you're turning this off. Now keep in mind, we're not turning the per optics off, so you're going back by pressing circle. And now you've turned off the custom look controls, and we're playing with these settings right over here. Let's really quickly go to the gameplay tab. A few important settings that I prefer, but you might also want to turn on for this configuration, is to have your damage numbers to both. Turn on the minimap rotation or turn it off. I prefer it on, so I don't know why it's turned off for me. Button hints can be on, but one of the things you can do as well is you can put the interact prompt style to compact and the button hints to on to have a more visible thing where there is less visual clutter on the screen. Enemy highlight enabled, ping opacity faded, always sprint, make sure this is on. Then 2D and 3D both for incoming damage feedback, and then really important, taking damage closest to death box, turn this off. This allows you to really quickly armor swap, and with the way that the looting works in this configuration, You're then able to really quickly armor swap and back out without having to do additional presses. The rest of these settings do not really matter. So make sure they're all set as right over here, and you will be good to go. Now, let's go into the game. Right now, you will notice that there's not happening so much. Like, this is all looking very still and very normal. Just to show at first, we've gotten a pretty fast mouse sensitivity. You can see that I can move pretty fast, but this looks very slowed down. That's because I'm using my arm at the moment. If you're using your wrist, so you're aiming like this, you can do faster motions. Same would go for aiming. We can't aim right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to press our crouch key to go back to the normal mode. You will now see that there is some visual jitter. If you have followed my customization guide, you know how to turn this off and which binds these are. So make sure you go over to the customization guide and watch it through from the beginning to the end if you want to turn this off. I, however, do like to play with this on, as it greatly enhances aim assist. Right now I've gotten an R301 and an alternator. You will see that if I go over here and I shoot at these dummies, we have pretty much no recoil active. If I switch to the alternator, we will start moving down quite heavily. And if I switch back to the R301, I've now gotten perfect anti-recoil. That is the automatic anti-recoil. I'm not pressing any buttons. But for those of you that are wondering, if I'm right, we are on the config 2 right now. And on config 2, which is loaded with F12, I'm going to be able to press F1 to enable the R301. And I'm going to be able to press F4 in order to enable the alternator. Again, that's not really necessary. For me, I've gotten perfect anti-recoil on the 301. I switched to the alternator and I directly got the anti-recoil as well. And now you're wondering, why is it moving down? This is because the aim-assisted anti-recoil for the alternator only works whenever I'm aiming at a target. So on target, I've gotten perfect laser recoil with the alternator, just beaming my target from far away without any problem. Now, going into some more of the essential features. I will go into some of the beaming and the aiming in a second. But first of all, whenever we're going to upgrade, which we can do right now, we're going to hold down our upgrade button. If you watch the settings guide, I've explained in there what the upgrade button is by my design and what you may have to change it to, like F1 or whatever. I'm going to hold down my upgrade key and now I'm going to move my mouse in a direction. This might take a little bit of time, but whenever it shows, just select what you want to select and release the key. It will automatically select it. Same thing here, select the second option, boom. No more having to click down a key, no more having to jump. It will just select by itself right now. Very useful. Let's really quickly move over to the loot box, which is a very important thing. Most people are used to interacting with a loot box and then having access to their key. But in order to back out of the key, they will have to press their crouch key or the escape key, which will close the loot box. In my case, it works a little bit different. You hold down your interact key. You're going to select what you want to select. So I, for example, want to select a better armor or a better mag in this case. The moment I release my interact key, it automatically closes the box. No matter what I'm doing, it will always closes the box. This is very neat whenever you're in crafters because it will skip the crafter animation when backing out, which is pretty nice. Another neat thing of working like this is if you need to swap a shield core, you can do so mid-fight, and if you train yourself to do it, it is pretty easy. So keep this in mind. None of this, by the way, is going to fuck around with the way your keys work. You're still going to be able to swap things. There's not going to be any weird movement whenever you're trying to swap, which is something that some comics do see. All of this is just neatly positioned and it is neatly working without any problem. Again, right here, swap to the flat line, and none of the recoils are active right now, which might be because we are editing a XIM config or something like that. And then you can see, boom, now we've got a perfect anti-recoil on the flat line. So we can just start beaming, which is, again, pretty neat. All automatic. Just beam the hell out of these dummies. Going back a little bit more into it, you most likely want to do super glides, which is a pretty easy, almost consistent thing. Of course, I don't have audio on right now for the video, so that I don't have to worry about what is going on or weird noises from Pathfinder, but simply you press your super glide button, which is scroll up for me. At the right side, I can hear the thing, and you will super glide, no problem. Going on to the zip line, if you press caps lock once, and then of course you want to look a little bit up and hold your W key, you will do a super jump. If you press and hold and move your camera like this, you will reattach to the zip line. With this, you can do ASUS zipline movement. I'm currently on the console. Without a macro, it's 100% impossible to do super jumps and do these kind of jumps. So right there, you can see a 180-degree zipline strafe, which allows you to just reattach and do a jump into a direction. Kind of like a tap strafe, but with a zipline. All of this is really easily set and done. The other thing that we have gotten is a super, like a mental jump. I'm not able to mental jump myself. I do not know how the movement works, but it's one other thing. You just hold down the caps lock button, you scroll up, and you're mental jumping. Very easy. Now, let's go back in here and work a little bit on our aim, because that's one of the most important things in a configuration. And you might be thinking, Zim, you haven't mentioned anything about the thing yet. By the way, I'm not the official Zim channel, but just to state, let's keep it to native. Native, you are not the official Zim channel. I know. And you might be thinking, where is the bunny hopping? In my case, I prefer to bunny hop with my scroll wheel, which is very easy. Just keep scrolling down, and I can really easily keep bunny hopping. That's one of the things I was used to when I was playing on the controller. Same goes for the bunny hops. I mean, on the mouse and keyboard on the PC. I want to do wall jumps. It's very easy to do consistent wall jumps, even on lower surfaces like these. You will be able to do wall jumps if you use your scroll wheel. But in your case, you might have changed the scroll wheel to your spacebar in order to hold down your spacebar. And you might be thinking, cool, I can do a wall jump, I can bunny hop. But if I hold down my spacebar, it keeps jumping off the wall. Why is that? Very simply, just like we will do on the scroll wheel, just press the jump button once, don't hold it down, and you will be climbing the object. Now, let's move down to the aiming section. The most important section after all. You want to be able to beam and really dominate your opponents. For this, I'm going to set up my favorite loadout. I really like to have a flatline, a 1x scope, and a purple stock. For my second weapon, I always pick the Peacekeeper, a golden bolt, and the stock. I will change this to a 1x. One of the things that I really like to do, and what really allowed me to get really good at the game in terms of play, has been to consistently practice with the aim assist. You will see a lot that while moving, a lot of the aim is adjusting. I'm doing very minimal movement here, and just doing these very minimal movements up and down. Essentially, all I'm doing is I'm doing these circles, and while I'm doing these circles, you can see that tracking is almost perfect. But even if I just move my mouse, it is easy. Whenever I'm moving with WASD, same thing. If I stand still, we've got an automatic tracking, which is really nice. Orbital aim assist. All of these things are in. Well, strafing, just to kind of give you guys the idea, if the character is moving to the right, I'm moving to the left. If the character is moving to the left, I'm moving to the right. My aim, the direction in which I'm aiming, is where the character moves. If you're trying to move with the character, so if the character is going to be moving left and you're trying to track, it will be very difficult. So always in your games, try to play counterclockwise. If the character is moving right, I will be aiming right, but I'll be moving left. If the character is moving left, I will be aiming to the left, but I'll be moving right. That's kind of the thing you want to keep in mind, especially also when you want to start doing counterwise strafes while doing this, which gets a bit harder with aiming. You kind of want to get used to all of these things. So that's just the basis. Aim-wise, if you want to flick, you most likely have seen that it is really hard to do these kind of motions. With the curve, it is really easy. And it's really nice because I don't really know how to pronounce it, but Matukuti or Matukuki or whatever has created an amazing curve. He's unfortunately not active from what I'm knowing on the Zim anymore, but it's a very nice movement and you can do quick flicks. One of the things is ADS wise, you're using my curve, which is also very nice, very fast. So you can do fast flicks, but most of your flicks for aim will be from the hip, moving up, aiming. Kind of like this. So now let's just do a few beams with the shotgun. You can see that I'm pretty consistent. Of course, these are very easy patterns at which the dummies are moving, but I can pretty consistently keep my shots on the target, which is very nice. Let's introduce some movement, some sliding. One of the things you will notice is while sliding, while jumping, your aim assist is always active. So you're constantly able to stay really on top of your opponent. While you're playing, you can keep your hip shots on, and it is pretty easy to keep your momentum going in terms of aim. If you really get into a flow state and you practice for about an hour, 2 hours in the range every single day, you're really going to start noticing that. Especially again, when we're still aiming, it is really easy to track targets, whether that's close up or far away. It's going to be pretty easy to consistently keep beaming your opponents. And again, right, one of the things I really like is that I've gotten all of these anti-recoils, those very perfect laser recoils from Molly Tropic Thunder, which is very nice. It again just makes complete sense. I've gotten a perfect laser, it doesn't feel weird. I can really quickly and really easily beam my opponents, and it still requires me to aim. It's not like it's doing it automatically for me, and a lot of people that will be, playing with a XIM, or those that will be looking at those that are playing a XIM, like, oh, you got an aim assist, but I cannot flick. We cannot flick, but with a lot of practice, we can start getting really good at our games. We can really start beaming the living crap out of every single enemy. So all of this is pretty nice. Let me really quickly go and break down the aim, and that will then be it for the video. Whenever you start aiming, I'm going to look to the back right over here, and I'm going to really quickly turn off the shaking so that I can have and give you guys the best example of how this works. We're going to be planting your mouse firmly at the middle of your mouse pad. I'm not touching it right now. I'm not lifting it, not bending it, or whatever. Most of you most likely will be having your mouse, and you will be using your arm to quickly bend left and right. And you will notice that if you try to do these quick flicks, the aim suddenly becomes super slow. Same time, if you're trying to bend your wrist slowly, you see that you're almost able to do these complete 180s just by doing short turns. This is the secret behind the XIM. The XIM is kind of like a controller. Think of it this way. A controller, or on a controller, the left stick or the right stick is not going to be able to really quickly run away from the controller and then later magically reattach itself in its slot and be back at the controller. A controller can only bend in a direction. So your aim should be like that stick. Use your wrist. So in my case, if I want to do these turns right here, all I'm doing is I'm moving my hand back and forward in a circle. It's kind of like, my arm isn't moving, but my hand is right at the center. Same here. If I do these turns here, I will be having aim assist, kind of like an orbital booster. So all I'm doing is just quickly moving my arm up and down. If I want to move the aim up, in this case, I move the hand up and I move the arm slightly up, but I won't try to do a fast turn. Same way down. Just pull your hand inside your belly, essentially. You want to flick to the left, you bend your wrist to the left. That's all we want to do here. If you want to have a faster stance and you go to the controller and, for example, play 7 here, it's going to be essentially the same thing. Now I'm able to do the full turn here, kind of like most people would want to, being able to do the full turn. All I'm doing right now is I'm bending my wrist. But how do you do a full turn? Pretty simply, whenever you start to get a feel for this, you can flick and you're just moving up your hand. So moving up your hand, to explain that, is think of it this way. When your wrist is bent all the way to the left and you can go further, you want to go turn this way, right? So you will lift up your mouse, center it back in the middle, and continue the turn. Whenever you get used to aiming like this, you're able to do full 180 flicks and it won't look static like this. You will be able to pick up your Peacekeeper or whatever gun you're playing with, and you're going to be able to really easily beam the living shit out of your enemies, where you're able to do quick turns and be able to really quickly take on your opponents. All of this is really easily possible with the curve and the way you might want to play. Competitive play, this is very important. Having this movement down is very essential for being able to consistently beam and consistently have very, very strong shots on your opponents. You can see that for me, with my settings, the way that I'm currently used to, and I can play both 7 and 6, it's very logical. Like, it looks really strong, it looks really locked on, and then most of it is just me aiming. Like, you gotta think of it this way. All aim assist there's going to be is these small turns. That's all there is going to be to it. So all of that being locked on is just me moving the mouse. Kind of like, moving the mouse or moving the controller. In this case, I'm moving the mouse where I want to, into the direction the character is moving. Whether that has to be on the body or whether I want to hit only headshots, that thing is going to be the same thing. Both with the shotgun as well, I can just consistently flick on and be locked on. Again, I'm very happy you guys watched this video. Don't forget to leave a like on the config as well. That will be really much appreciated. If all of this shake is too much for you and you do want to turn that off, again, I would really recommend to watch the video in watch the supported video on the customization. One other option you can do if you kind of want to keep it on is just turn your look dead zone to small. You will now see that I have gotten none. Like, there's no shaking at all anymore. I'm still having the tracking, but you will see that the tracking becomes a lot weaker. So that overall training is a lot weaker. Again, might be nice to still show right here. Whenever I'm aiming, it looks like my character is shaking. That's not happening. My character is moving in a direction. But again, this will essentially allow you to still have very strong lock-on. You're still able to play the game. As usual, you have gotten your look dead zone on small, and now you've got a strong aim assist and no shake at all anymore. So it's really going to be dependent on the way you want to play. And with the way we're using the dead zones, you're inside the curve, you're not going to notice this small change. In all honesty, I've changed this. I haven't really tested it. I know this fixed it, but I might even start playing the game like this from now on, because I know that these boosters are still active. I've only gotten one booster that holds down the orbital aim assist, and them still being active means that they're still active. So this is very nice. Again, you really want to play around with this. If you want to have the best possible aim assist, then this might be the easiest way towards having very strong aim assist, where you're just going to be able to track your opponents very easily. In this case, this might be one of those things where your dead zones are going to fuck you up a little bit more, where they're close up nicer. So that's something to play around with, play and test with, but I will make sure to look at that at a further update. Again, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully this video was of use to you, and enjoy.